everybody, welcome to a 20-something's kitchen, and today we are going to be making a coffee house classic, and that is biscotti. And the biscotti we're going to be making today is a pistachio cranberry with a little bit of drizzle of white chocolate on the top. So before we get started, let's lay out the ingredients. There's something you already have in your house. We'll hit it with a little bit of sugar, flour, vegetable oil, baking powder, salt, vanilla, eggs, pistachios, cranberries, and then we're going to have a little help from our friends over here, the big bowl and the baby bowl. So let's get started with the big bowl. In here, we're going to add 3 cups of flour. Once that's complete, we're going to add and then give them all a toss here. Once that's complete, just set that aside. In the baby bowl, we're going to put in 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of oil, and then just give it a quick spin. I will use my whisk this time. So I originally found this recipe on Pinterest, and when I found it, I honestly had a heart palpitation for how easy the recipe was, because every time I go to a place and have a biscotti, I'm always just like, oh, this is so fabulous, it tastes so good, it's so crunchy, it's delicious. It must take forever to make, and it must be really expensive to make. But after I saw this recipe, I realized it's everything I already have at home. Like I said, flour, sugar, eggs, salt, vanilla, everything that a typical person who bakes often or only on the holidays should have. And then we're going to add 3 eggs, just doing them one at a time. And the original recipe that I found was funfetti biscotti. And who doesn't love funfetti? Sprinkles honestly make everything better because they're unicorn tears after all. Duh! If you want the original recipe, it's below in my page. And you can make an interpretation on this recipe just like I have. I've gone the direction of a little salty and sweet, so you have the pistachio and the cranberry, or you can stick to funfetti. I've done chocolate chip before. I also did a white chocolate almond one, so I just had little white chocolate bits, cut them up, put them in there, and then just sliced almonds that I toasted off. As you can tell, I have a love of almonds. The last ingredient that we're going to add to the wet is vanilla. And then just give it another quick whisk. I love the smell of vanilla. Even if it's hanging out with raw eggs, it still smells good to me. You should have this golden consistency here. All right. So now you have the baby bowl and the big bowl. What are we going to do? We're going to put them together. So we're going to slowly add our wet into our dry. I'm just going to go back to that cup I was using for measurement and just use that to add it in. And then you're just going to keep doing that until all of the ingredients are incorporated into each other. So once that's mixed together, this is what the dough is going to look like. It's going to look like your average cookie dough. We'll give it one last mix together. And then set it aside. Next, we're going to be chopping out the pistachios and the cranberries. This, I have about a cup of cranberries, and then a cup of pistachios, which I bought in the shell, and then just took the time to unshell them. I like to buy them salted in the shell because I feel like as much as I do love salt, the shell somewhat protects them, because if I get them unshelled with the salt, it's kind of like a...
You have like that overwhelming sensation of saltness.
Not cute. Kind of ruins the experience for you, so that's why I buy them shelled, and then I take the time to take off the shells. Also get to work on my muscles while I'm doing that. We'll just chop these up. just into bite-sized pieces. You could leave them whole, but we want everyone who's having the biscotti to have a little pistachio. Because I'm sure I'm not the only person who you see something on a menu, you order it, you're like, yeah, I'm going to have pecans in this. You get the pie, the cookie, whatever it is back, you're eating it, you're searching, you're like, I'm eventually going to find a pecan. It's probably not safe to talk with that in my hand. I'm eventually going to find a pecan. You keep looking, you keep eating, and literally at the end, it's like the skin of a pecan. You're like, great, spent $2 extra to get a pecan, whatever, but it wasn't in there.
Amen. Can I get an amen? Amen.
So I don't like to jip people like that when I cook. If I'm telling you pistachios are going to be in there, they're going to be in there. You don't have to look far. And just a rough chop too, because you don't want them to be turned into pistachio ashes. Say that 5 times fast. And next, we're going to just chop up the cranberries. Once again, bite-sized pieces. And though you can make this flavored pistachio cranberry biscotti any time of the year, they're actually perfect around the holiday season because you have the green and the red in there and the white chocolate on top. I feel like white chocolate just invites elegance. When you see white chocolate, you're like, oh, that person's so elegant. They took the time to do white chocolate instead of dark chocolate, and I feel like the way it's presented on a plate looks so much better. Right, so we're ready to add these into our dough in the big bowl. Perfect, so we're ready to add everything together. Do a little left, a little right action.
Stacks better grab an umbrella, I make it right, I make it right. I'm in the terror, got a handful of stacks, better grab an umbrella, I make it right.
After about 2 handfuls, that's when I would give it a good spin. You know what? Let's just use our hands. Why not? And you'll see the cranberry takes up a lot more than the pistachio, so it's up to you at this point if you want to keep adding cranberry, but for me, I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of my pistachios, hold off on the cranberries, and at the end if I want to add more, I can. Because it's my kitchen. So to kind of show you what the dough is going to look like, I'll just hold it up here. So you can see everything throughout. That's what we want. We want to see everybody who is invited. And the fun thing about biscotti too is this literally feels like Play-Doh when you're playing around with it. Mixing all the ingredients together. Like playing with Play-Doh all over again, except this time at the end you can eat it and not get sick. I'm just going to let this sit in the bowl for a couple minutes, and while I do that, I'm just going to grab our pan that we'll be baking this on. So we are back. I've grabbed my pan and I've lined it with foil, and the dough is ready to go. Sneak peek. And what we're going to do is just divide this in half. So get in there. So you'll have your big one to begin with, and then just go ahead and rip her apart. And then you'll just form it into a long oval rectangle shape here. And we'll just plate it on the pan. And don't worry, it will widen out, kind of like me in the winter, but no need to fear, because the dough is quite stretchy and sticky, and just don't worry, it's going to happen. Especially when it bakes too, you're going to notice that it's wider, not as skinny as when you first put it on. So we'll do the second one. And once again, just going to be that little log there. Set it down, shape it up, give your hands a quick wash. And next, like I had mentioned, we are going to sprinkle some sugar and salt on top. So we'll just take a little spoonful. No exact measurements on this. And then the salt. And I just let that go. So here they are. They're gonna go into the oven at 350 for 25 minutes. We'll take them out, let them cool, cut them up, and then throw them back in the oven at 250. See you soon. Now that the loaves are out of the oven, I let them cool for about 5 to 10 minutes so they're easier to cut. You'll just pick them up, throw them on the plate, and then you'll just cut them into about 1-inch slices. So this is what they'll look like after you cut them. You can see the cranberries and pistachios throughout. And so once they're cut, just go ahead and throw them back into the pan. Make room for your next loaf. And here's what they're going to look like. So you get a good amount of biscotti. You're going to throw it back in the oven at 250 for about 15 to 20 minutes. You'll check on them. Flip them, you'll notice one side's going to get toasty, you'll flip it over, the other one will get toasty, and then it's up to you after that how soft or hard you want them. So 15 to 20 on the first side, 10 on the other side, and then you can take them out and we'll enjoy. Our biscotti are done. They were in the oven for probably 40 to 45 minutes total, and the next step of this is melting down the white chocolate to drizzle over the top. So I had about 8 squares of these little white chocolates here. I'm on my last one. While the biscotti were cooling, I was just chopping them up and throwing them in this bowl. So finish our last one here. So we have our bowl of white chocolate here. And one thing I noticed with melting white chocolate is it does melt a lot better when you add just a little bit of milk to it. Just a little bit. And then we'll throw it into the microwave for 15 seconds at a time just to melt it down. And one thing you have to remember with white chocolate is that if you do overwork it, it'll start to harden. So just be mindful of that. All right, so all in all, it was in there for about 30 to 45 seconds, 45 tops. I'm just gonna have really creamy white chocolate. And while it's still creamy, we're just gonna take our biscotti and then drizzle it over which way direction you would like. I'm just going to go up and down.
Chocolate rain. Some stay dry and others feel the pain. Chocolate rain. A baby born will die before the sin. Chocolate rain. The school books say it can't be here again. Chocolate rain.
And drizzle to whatever you like. If you like a lot of white chocolate, put all of it on there. If you just want a little taste of it, maybe just do one more round and that'll be it. It's totally up to you for drizzling. So I'm just going to let this set up and then show you guys the end product. I hope you enjoy my biscotti.
I don't wanna say that love is a way